So data mines, guys, of course we had the video that I normally do for more broader kind of audiences, of course, but sometimes people want to know the inner bits of the changes that we had. The dev server is open, of course, so no update for sure this week, means probably next week, right, if everything goes according to plan. So let's take a look on some of the changes that they did to the date, like that are in the data mines that we normally don't see it, you know, too closely. So the first one that I didn't show, that I didn't see it, is that you can now, if you go to the vehicle over here, for example, the multi-vehicle vehicles over here, you can actually take a look on the launchers that are right there, right? Which is pretty cool. So you can see that it's kind of like the premium kind of outlook over there, but you can look at the vehicle, and with that, of course, you can take a look at the missile and everything, which is a pretty interesting thing. It still is kind of like if it is like a premium vehicle, but it's something for you to take a look on the actual launcher on the side there. For some reason, it's only appearing for the Iris-T, I think, but yeah, very interesting, right? Another thing is that we have, I need to find it where it is, because they're always changing these things. Loading screen. For some reason, I thought it was there, but we do have two new loading screens, one for the Iris-T, very cool, very beautiful, and then we have one for the Comanche, or RE66, so very, very cool. But you saw it, right? I mean, for some reason I clicked the wrong button there, but yeah, very, very cool with the Hellfire and everything, so very cool, right? They are introducing more and more tech tree like images. So for example, here one of them is the where is it? No, it's for the Italians, right? The sniper has its own thing there, so very cool, right? Little things like that are getting readier and readier. Of course, they changed some of the images as well, or added some of the images for the stat card as well, as you can see right there, right? Many vehicles got that. Not gonna show every single one of them because it's just normal things that are getting added, okay? A cool little thing that they added is that the Spider now has actually the proper name for the missile as iDerby SR. So apparently it's not gonna be the ER version. It's gonna be the normal iDerby, you know, which is a little bit better than the normal Derby. Let's wait and see if it's actually going to be any different from the normal one. But yeah, a little bit of a different naming for this missile. Another cool change is that they actually updated to a little bit more of what it will actually be like on the radar screen. So it is more what it was on the dev server, that the dev stream, sorry, that they actually show it. Okay, so you can see that we have now the map a little bit on the on the background there. You know, you have a little bit of the radar controls and stuff, and you can click stuff if you don't know the buttons. So, yeah, scope scale, for example, as you see, it's changing down there, right? The search mode, of course, this radar is pretty much the same. You can change to the Iris-C and the radar if he has it. You know, you can fire the missile, as you see. You can use the seeker. I would imagine that a button for changing maybe where the target is would be there. Hopefully, they add something like you click here and the button will choose the target without having to use the proper buttons, right? For some reason, it's not working here as well. Search mode. No, it's a little bit weird, but it's getting there. As you can see, the target's in a vertical kind of situation over here. You have a camera for the target, or for the aiming reticle, which is pretty interesting. And of course, the target list there. So overall, just a very big improvement over the older one. Hopefully they continue to improve that as well, right? We have some interesting additions to the game that I didn't realize were here. The AIM-120C-7 technically got added. So, yeah, this is probably the ER version of these missiles, right? If I'm not mistaken, it would improve the range. We're gonna have to wait and see how it's gonna be, but, yeah. AIM-120C-7 was added to the game, which is kind of nuts, isn't it? Kind of crazy that we are seeing such missiles as this. For air-to-air, I don't think it was added for any of the other ones. I think it's just the C5, yes. Yeah, only the C5, right? I would imagine. Yeah, C5. I don't think the C7 got added. But yeah, we're gonna have to wait and see how it is, right? I need to check if these missiles are different than any of the other things. But we're gonna do proper some tests over here in a bit. A new interesting addition as well is that now you can basically prohibit a fire from the first or second launcher. So we're gonna just add one button over here. I need to change it up, these buttons anyway later. And then with these you can actually select basically what are the launchers that you want to be firing the missiles. So like for example, let me spawn in the 2 launchers over here. As you see, if I fire, it fires both of them. So it's not firing, but maybe it's not properly working, as you see. But it should be able to be launching. I don't know. But yeah, basically you choose what are the launchers that are gonna be firing the missiles. So it's very interesting, and basically they fixed the bug where 2 missiles were getting shot out basically between these, right? So it makes a little bit more sense. It is a little bit better. A little bit of a bigger fix there. So we're gonna do some like proper video showing the changes, but I'm gonna talk about the changes that were done to the missiles themselves, okay? So we have the first change to the SAM-1C, which now has the proper stat car animation on the active radar homing one. And also, we do have basically a less aggressive drag coefficient. Remember, drag coefficient is not the only thing that this missile will use to calculate the drag in game, but it is one of them, since that changed the actual range of the missile got increased. So like I said, I'm gonna do a proper video just testing these changes, but it is supposed to be hitting up to 14 kilometers now, which is an improvement over what it was before. Other changes include, for example, to the Spider over here, the slightly increasing the drag of the Python 5. They basically made it to be a little bit more aggressive on the lead, and they actually added the proper model of the Python 4. Still not the correct model, I must say, but I'm gonna have to probably go to the... Jesus, that's a fast missile launching. They added the Python 4 model to it. So let's go to the replay over here just to show to you guys, because the missiles are way too fast for me to show to you. So you can see over here, let me go down in the speed there. And let me just, these missiles are way too fast. So here we have the Python 4 model. Okay, so I don't know if it's going to be using the Python 4 model, because the Python 5 is very similar in the model. But I'm pretty sure it's just a initial model to it, and they will probably update it to the Python 5 itself. But yeah, very interesting. Very interesting. So yeah, very cool model actually. Like I said, I'm gonna do a proper video testing these differences, but the Iris-T also got a change. So now the booster force is 12 kilonewtons, 12.6 kilonewtons for 12 seconds. So it was before 5 seconds with 18.8 kilonewtons. So it's a lot weaker on the power of the missile, the thrust of the missile, but burning for a longer period of time, but without the sustainer. So I wonder how it's actually going to be like. Like I said, I'm going to do a proper video just testing these things. They decreased the guidance duration and max brake lock time as well, which shouldn't be a problem. It's 100 seconds. They decreased severely the drag of this missile. On the terms of drag coefficient. Again, it's not the only thing that matters, but they not only decreased the drag coefficient by almost half, but they also decreased the wing area multiplier by a little bit. So it means that it is indeed decreasing by a lot, quite a lot on the drag on this missile, right? They increased the speed limit, so this missile should be way better, and it will do a lot more lofting as well. So way better version of the missile. For the actual AIM-120C-7 that we talked about before, there aren't that many changes, okay? The first thing is that, of course, we do not have the C5 anymore. It was renamed to C7. And now it is a little bit heavier and a little bit heavier after the burn as well. I wonder if they're going to change also the burner itself. For now, it's the same, so it shouldn't change too much of the performance. But I'm pretty sure, I was told that the C7 had a better booster. I don't know exactly, so if you know, let me know in the comments. I need to do my research on that. But yeah, and the AIM-9X also got a little bit of a change with kind of a significant decrease on the drag coefficient, which means less drag in this case. No changes in the ING area and everything, so it should be a severe, not as much as the RST, but a severe basically drag reduction, right? So also they increased the amount of thrust vectoring that the missile does, and they increased the explosive mass. So overall, it's a pretty interesting buff to it, but it doesn't do lofting anymore, and they readjusted the autopilot of the missile. So we will need to wait and test it out. I will test it out, but in a general sense, it's a buff for, it should be a buff to the C7. I don't think this missile is ready yet, but it is a buff for the AIM-9X. Again, we're going to test it out later. Another change, surprise, surprise, for the PANTSIR S1. So the PANTSIR now has a slight increase in the booster force, but it's very small, okay? It's around like 70 newtons, so it's nothing. But it is a buff on the amount of power. At the same time, they decreased by not a lot as well, by 0.05 more or less, or actually 0.06 more or less, on the drag coefficient as well, and increased the max fin AOA of the missile. So overall, they actually buffed the PANTSIR. Not by much, but it is a little bit, okay? Again, guys, just to explain to you, when I say buff or nerf, it's just for you to understand. Buffs or nerfs are not really done in the dev server. What is done is fixes. Basically, they're fixing it to actually add. So bear that in mind. But I like to say the word buff and nerf just to be very easy to explain to you, okay? Some other changes include radar changes. So in the aviation department, especially, we have the F2, which now has only 2 data link channels with its APG2, so we will only be able to update with the data link the targets with 2 missiles at once. You know, so if you fire a third missile, you will lose the data link connection to the first one that you shot. Okay, they added NCTR to the PANTSIR, so it was something that I think they were already planning on doing. IRIS-T now has a rangefinder on the CS SA5, so on this AA system over here, the new AA system for the Chinese. Now it has, the IRIS-T has a rangefinder, which is also pretty interesting. I don't think they changed the missiles themselves over here. It's still 20 Gs and stuff, so I think it's pretty much the same. Well, the rounds are pretty much the same, so nothing too crazy added to this version, to this vehicle. The Spider IAO, right? The Spider again got changed a little bit on the radar. So the radar, which is this thing over here, it's a very different radar, but yeah, it has basically an increased range. The range will be increased by the transceiver range around 15 kilometers more, so around 60 kilometers will be kind of the minimum range of detection here, and the maximum range would be around 200 kilometers instead of the 90 that was before. So a severe increase in range, not that you need, but yeah. And the signal, it's supposed to be, I think, a little bit better as well. So overall, just a buff on that. And on the SAM-1C, right, the Japanese one, they also buffed the radar a little bit, and it can look up to 110 degrees, if I'm not mistaken, or something like that. I don't know if it's upwards or downwards, or it's not sideways, I don't think, right? But anyway, and fast TWS scan pattern. So overall, just buffing all the radars and making sure that they are realistic, right? There were a couple of changes to all the users of the KH-29. So now it has a limit of launch of 1.5 Mach. So you will see that all the KH-29s now have maximum speed allowed for you to shoot the missile at 1.5 Mach. Okay, this was a change that was coming, of course, already, but yeah, they did indeed change that. Another thing that I really wanted to talk about, already talked about this, but just to include in the video, they increased the amount of countermeasures to the F2. So now it has 120 countermeasures instead of the 60 that it had before, okay? They added some cockpits and stuff. I already showed that on the other video. The RAH-66, which is the Comanche, right? It got some changes to its flight model and also to the stealthiness of it. So I will test the stealthiness of it to see if there is any major changes. I don't know exactly. It doesn't have a cockpit yet, but it should be a little bit better if I'm not mistaken. And also they changed a lot of things to the flight model out of it. I'm not gonna, you know, talk too much about it because honestly I don't understand too much what they changed there. They changed a lot of stuff to the tail rotor adjustment, or basically they changed a lot of the adjustments on the tail rotor. To be honest, it feels a little bit lighter than what it was. You can do some very cool maneuvers like this, for example. Lighter in the sense that it has a lot more control that it had before, basically, right, on the tail rotor. So I think that's kind of it. And in the actual, like, basically the way that you fly the aircraft, it feels a little bit softer or better to do, right? I don't know. It's kind of like that. So I don't know exactly what the changes are, but yeah, indeed, they are here. There were many changes to many vehicles, many aircraft, especially on the BR, on the terms of naval battles. Not gonna talk about every single one of them, but basically there will be a lot of vehicles, from A4s to G91s and all sorts of vehicles that will have a different BR in naval battles, okay? But not gonna talk too much about it. And yeah, basically this is it, guys. I know quite a lot of like inner bits and stuff. That's why I'm separating these two videos normally, the data mine video and the update video, because there I just show the major stuff, and then the data mines we can get the inner bits of the stuff. Who does the inner bits, the data mines? Well, Zabi is our main protagonist here. I will leave the link in the description for you to help him out, okay? You can help him out with coffee. And yeah, he's amazing, an amazing guy that does these type of things, so always helps a lot, okay, guys? So I see you guys on the next one. Make sure to subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment, and bye. See ya.